And just like that, all the build-up is done. We are up and running. The Women's Rugby World Cup starting on home soil for England. And what a dominant performance that was against the USA, as we would have probably expected. Welcome back to the channel. Give me your thoughts. What did you make of that England performance? And I think the wider conversation here for England, it would have been a huge shock had they not won on opening night. But is this a team that are finally ready to go that one step further and win the World Cup? They are often there or thereabouts, but as has often been the case, they often fall at the final hurdle. So give me your thoughts on where you think this team is on the occasion, on the World Cup as a whole. Have your say in the comments section. Like the video as well and subscribe to the channel whilst you're here. So I think from an England point of view, that is job done. 11 tries scored. Was it 6 in the second half? Sorry, 7 in the second half. 4 in the first half. Bonus point wrapped up by half time. Some clunky stuff in that first half, but in particular some of the tries we saw in the second, the attacking game really kind of went through the gears, I suppose. I thought they were excellent in that second half, and they're up and running. And it's a really funny thing, I think, the Women's World Cup, because from an England point of view at least, I don't think it is an exaggeration to say it will probably get really interesting around the semi-final and final. That's where we expect them to be challenged, to be seriously challenged. I think will be semi-final and final. There's some unbelievable matchups and storylines and narratives before that point, by the way. In particular, I think that Scotland-Wales game tomorrow, I cannot wait for. I think seeing how Ireland get on against New Zealand in that pool and who tops that pool, so which side of the draw the Black Ferns go on, do they end up on England's side of the draw? All that sort of stuff is fascinating, but I think purely from a Red Roses point of view, the big questions are really going to be asked of them semi-final and final. So what's the aim? What are they looking to get out of these pool games? And I think whatever it is would have absolutely been what we saw today, which was an excellent performance, loads of tries, dominant win, and setting their stall out earlier. We know how dominant they are. 57 victories in their last 58 games. Yes, the defeat was that amazing World Cup final we saw in New Zealand a couple of years ago. Incredible game where they just dropped out and just lost out of the final play. But we know how dominant they are. So we saw pushover maul tries. We saw particularly that first half try by Ellie Killdunn was excellent. That one in the second half as well, where Killdunn knocked the ball down the touchline, picked it up, fed it back inside to Jess Breach to score her second try. We saw, I think, a real mix from England tonight. So I think it's absolutely what you would have wanted to see. The driving maul we always known as such a weapon. They got a couple in that regard. They started to get into their attacking game. As I say, I thought particularly in that first half, the first half an hour or so, it was almost a bit clunky from England. They were in the lead. They were pretty on top in the game, but we hadn't necessarily seen the best of them yet. And then it just got better and better throughout the game. I think there are so many players in this team that are outstanding world-class operators, as you would expect from a side that are the best funded and most professional in the world. But nonetheless, you've got to admire, I think, what they bring to the equation. And I thought they were excellent tonight. In terms of individual performances, how do you start going through a team who've won, what was the final score, 69-7, who, as I say, have scored 11 tries? How do you start picking individual names? One player I want to mention is Meg Jones. Now, I know Ellie Killdunn got the Player of the Match award, and she was excellent, as she so often is, so dangerous from fullback. Saw her footballing ability as well with that second try, as I've mentioned already. Ellie Killdunn, excellent. I thought Meg Jones was outstanding for England. Absolutely outstanding. What try was it? I think it was the Hannah Bottoman try in the first half. Started with Meg Jones absolutely running over the top of it was the open side, wasn't it? Georgie Perris-Redding for the USA. Absolutely running over the top of her. She ended up having to go off the pitch and get checked out. Getting England on the front foot, and then also the crossfield kick, which Abby Dow, I think, collected. It ended up a phase or two later with Hannah Bottoman going over. I thought Meg Jones was outstanding. I think we saw the all-round game that she possesses. We always knew that her against Salona Meyer was going to be a really nice battle within a battle. I just wish we'd seen it a little bit more, because there was a couple of moments, wasn't there? Alona Meyer had a carry in the first half, which was a really good, powerful carry, driving her legs, getting over the gain line. Meg Jones brought it down. Meg Jones had a lot of nice moments as well. I almost wish we'd have seen the individual one-on-one battle between those two a little bit more than we eventually did. But I thought Meg Jones was excellent. I've mentioned Ellie Kildunn. Jess Breach got a couple of tries. Sadia Kabea got things started. The front row for England actually were all really good try scorers. The scrum was dominant. Overall for England, it was excellent. And a record crowd for a Women's Rugby World Cup game, which I think is an awesome sign maybe of where women's rugby has grown over the last few years. There are obviously differences in terms of kind of England and New Zealand. So it was the World Cup final was the last record at Eden Park. To beat that record for the first game of the next World Cup, I think is an excellent sign. I think it will get blown out of the water again when we get to the final, which hopefully is going to be a sellout at Twickenham. I think it will certainly be close to it. I think it will probably be a sellout by the time the momentum builds throughout the rest of the tournament. So a record crowd. And then I wanted to finish on the wider point here of can this be the year? Is 2025 the year where England finally get themselves over the line and win the World Cup? They have been in the last 6 World Cup finals. The only one of those they have won is in 2014, and that was when they didn't have to face the Black Ferns. New Zealand have been their Achilles heel time and time again in World Cups. That was the case in New Zealand, which I know England got the red card in the first half of that game that changed the complexion. There was context to that defeat, but nonetheless it happened again when they were such heavy favourites. I can't see that happening on home soil. I know you can't account for injuries and red cards and things like that, but I think this England team are so dominant that I think they will win that World Cup. But how do they build to it, and how important is it that they do that? They have spoken about wanting this to be their Lionesses moment. And I know the context culturally between football and rugby is pretty stark. But nonetheless, what sort of platform could this World Cup give women's rugby in England and women's rugby generally in terms of the platform around the world? But I think in particular the fact that it's in England is a massive opportunity, and I hope they take it. Let's see if they do. They are up and running and they were outstanding on the opening night. So give me your view in the comments, like the video as well, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.